Okay. The Little Things. Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. So, when I saw the trailer for this, I was pretty excited about it because it looked like something that I would enjoy. And then, before I actually ended up watching it, I saw, oh shoot, I think that's a duplicate picture. I did not mean to, I think there's another one almost just like that. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. I get sidetracked looking at the pictures. What was I saying? Oh, before I saw the video, I noticed, yeah, there it is. I noticed the reviews for it, and they weren't exactly spectacular. The critical reviews are less than 50. I think the last I checked, they were at 47. And the audience reviews are like 65, maybe, something like that. It's around there for both of them. So there is a disparity between critical reviewers and regular folks like you and me. And I go into it watching it, and I had seen, or I saw some commentary that what's her name? Shoot. Grace Randolph. Oh my gosh, y'all. Grace Randolph had made about it, and I saw that she had mentioned, or she had compared it to the movie Seven. I've seen the movie Seven once, and I was really not all that impressed with it. I know a lot of people like it. They think it's just one of the greatest horror type films, or, you know, detective films ever. And I just wasn't all that impressed with it. So when I saw her say that, I was like, oh, this is where it's going. And it doesn't exactly go in that same sort of direction. So don't let that comparison throw you and make you think this is a carbon copy of the movie Seven, because it is not. But I think I sort of get why that comparison was made, but I'm trying to avoid spoilers, you guys. It's a little difficult because of the way this movie is. So I'll say this. It's kind of venturing into spoiler territory without giving you the details. But let me just say this. I think the reason that a lot of people, especially, let's say, regular audience members, were disappointed in it because, you know, 60-something% isn't the greatest. I mean, it means it's okay. Most people liked it all right. But I personally would have given it into the 70s. Okay, so there, you guys know how I feel about it right there. I liked it. But I think what aggravated some people about it is because, let me see if I can figure out how to word this. Don't go into it expecting the typical detective crime sort of formula. So just don't expect that. That's almost all I can say without really getting into the nitty-gritty of this, because if I say too much, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But if I warn you ahead of time not to expect the normal formula that you would typically see in a movie like this, then maybe you'll sort of be a little prepared, and then you won't be as disappointed as some people have been. And the reason I say that is because I've been reading some of their comments and I see what they're saying, and so I know where a lot of their annoyance and disappointment is stemming from. And I get it, because they probably went into this expecting that typical detective crime, investigative type of movie formula. So I'll say that right off the bat. Don't expect that, and maybe you won't be disappointed. Maybe you'll actually appreciate this film. Like I said, I liked it, and I think part of the reason that I did is because I had seen that comparison to Seven. And I remember that I wasn't crazy about Seven. However, I did like this. And that's because there are, you know, some divergences between this and 7. So that's why I liked it. Plus, I like Denzel, and I may not be super crazy about every movie he's played in, but I always like to watch him. So there you go. Anyway, I also liked Jared Leto. His performance in here was pretty effectively creepy because he just plays it. He's just, you know, the type he often plays. I mean, a lot of times his characters just mess with your head, and that's the way he is in this movie, especially. And he keeps you guessing the entire time, which was, you know, pretty well done. You are trying to figure out the answers to this, and you don't really always know. So I felt that was pretty well done. And Denzel Washington plays a flawed, he's a sheriff in here. He had been a detective. He's investigating some murders that happen where he is, and they remind him of murders that he used to investigate. I think maybe his character was in New York at the time because he used to be a detective. Then he kind of, I don't remember if he got demoted or if he took a position down from detective to just become a sheriff of this little sleepy town, and then he ends up going to the city and gets involved in investigating the series of murders that reminds him of the ones he had investigated before. I think you are very much led to believe that the narrative is that these murders are being committed by the same person, but at the same time, there's a lot of ambiguity. So, you know, it's kind of up in the air, but his character is very flawed, and he meets up with this detective. When I say very flawed, you realize how flawed by the end of the movie, okay? And he works some with a detective played by Rami Malek. Now, Malek did an okay job, but I have to say up front that I have never really been super impressed with his acting. He just doesn't do much for me at all. And there were scenes in here where he felt like he was kind of overacting a tad, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's almost like he's aware of how, what's the word? I don't want to say important, but you know, he got a lot of recognition for his role in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't remember if he won any awards, but people made a really big deal about his performance in there. I was never interested to watch that movie because I don't really care about Queen. I don't care a whole lot about Freddie Mercury. Rami Malek doesn't do much for me, and I just was not interested. I just wasn't, so I never watched it. Plus, it's a character drama type thing, and I just, the person that is the focus of the story has to really interest me for me to want to watch it. And since I've never really been super interested in Freddie Mercury, I didn't. And I probably never will, but I have heard that he did a really good job in that movie. And the trailers, he looked like he did okay. In here, he did all right. He's not the worst actor ever, but I get the sense when I'm watching him in here that he's aware of his presence in the movie, if that makes any sense. And so he feels like he's trying really hard to give this spectacular performance, but in a sense, I feel like he's kind of trying too hard, and it just doesn't feel natural. You'll have to watch it to know what I'm talking about, and even then, you might disagree with me. And you know, sometimes I read things into people that not everybody else does, or like, let's say, actors as they're acting that maybe nobody else does. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, whatever. So the story is called, the title is, of course, like I said, The Little Things. I can't remember exactly how that comes into play in the movie, but at one point, I think it's Denzel's character that mentions something about how that there are no angels, or he mentions something about there not being angels or whatever. And it's not until you get to the end that you realize what he meant, and that nobody is an angel. Like, nobody in the story, basically, or none of the major characters in the story are angelic. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of nuance when it comes to these characters. It's not a black and white type of situation where, yes, good guy good, bad guy very bad, and it's very clear, and there's no gray area. But that's not really the case in this movie. And so that line about there not being any angels, when you get to the end, is like, oh yeah, he was right. And so if you go into this, maybe realizing that this is more about the detectives than it is about the crime and the investigation or catching the person, if you go into it understanding that that's the focus, maybe that will also help you to appreciate it more than you would have appreciated, or maybe you wouldn't have appreciated if you didn't go into it with that expectation. So anyway, I was pleasantly surprised. I went into it expecting that I wouldn't, think it was all that wonderful. And it certainly wasn't anything that blew me away. But I enjoyed it. I could see myself watching it again, maybe noticing some things, because I was watching some video. I can't remember. It's in my YouTube history. I could probably find it, but somebody in there made a very interesting post about what they observed and the little clues that they picked up. And I'm not going to go into detail about that because I don't want to give too much away, but I kind of feel like I wouldn't mind watching it again just to compare what this other person observed and the things that they noticed that I didn't notice the first time watching it. So I'm really curious to find out, or not to find out, but like to go into it again with that second time putting my eyeballs on it, and maybe picking up on things that were quite subtle that I didn't notice the first time around. So anyway, I don't really have much more to say about it. I've kind of tried to express myself without telling too much. So that's why I kind of feel like I'm sort of talking in circles, because I'm trying to make points without spoiling stuff. But if you're a Denzel fan, I think you will probably enjoy this film. And I guess, if you're a fan of Jared Leto or Rami Malek, whatever, it was an interesting combination, these three guys, and I don't feel any disappointment in having watched it. And I think maybe you guys would like it if you take the time to check it out. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you have seen it already and you were disappointed, let me know why you were disappointed, because I'm curious to find out if that's exactly the same reason why so many other people were disappointed, and which comes right back around to what I said before about how maybe they went into it with an expectation of it being something that it was supposed to be, and that's not what it was. And if they'd gone into it with that different mindset, they probably would have liked it. I'm being very vague because I can't, I just, there's only so much I can say. So because I don't have anything else to say and I'm just meandering at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, maybe move on to another review or some sort of reaction. So I think that's it. Watch me remember something I forgot to say, but if that happens, I'll just maybe put a text in the video or in the description. Anyway, okay, you guys, that's all for now. Later.